Right, so here's how my weekend started. So, I drove up with Ave and Tammy, my lovely Gen Vespin companions for this weekend, who will after this be referred to by their character names. Ave is Kythan, and Tammy is Ray, and they are my two lovely stabby companions in Wasp Tribe antics. Um, I was of course playing Aeryn this weekend, my evil wild elf shaman, who is a witch. I guess evil wild elf witch these days. Um, she's not a nice person, but she is eminently reasonable. Um, and we knew that there was going to be a lot of tension at this coming game. We didn't know exactly what was going to happen because there's a lot of people sort of jockeying at the moment in Kalador, and doing like the PvP thing, and like people making threats against other people and just all that kind of shit. And that's not how I like to play my game, right? That's not how I like to play my game. I like to how do I put this? I like to be scary, but the scariest thing that you can do, well, the scariest stuff that you can do to other characters is the stuff that doesn't kill them. You know what I mean? Like, as soon as you're dead as the character and lying on the ground, and you're counting out that 5 minutes before you dissipate and you take a proper death, like nobody can life you, sort of thing. You're not thinking in character at that point. You're counting seconds as you're dying and going, man, this fucking sucks. You know? What I want is is for people to be thinking about how they would get away from that, and how they would escape being paralyzed and then, you know, tortured or whatever. But I don't really want to kill them because I don't want to ruin anybody's game. Out of character, I'm a nice person, you know? In character, I'm playing this horrible witch, but out of character, I'm a nice person, and I feel just like that little spark of guilt in my heart when I think I might be ruining somebody else's fun time. So yeah, I'm not much of a PvP player, for LARP stuff. I mean, in other stuff, you know, League of Legends, StarCraft, whatever, all that crap. Like, yeah, let's PvP, that's the point. But at LARP, I prefer my horrible things to happen to NPCs, and my less horrible things to happen to players, you know. But yeah, so this game, the sort of political tension of the town is like really, really high, because basically the way things are going is that, like, there's this one faction of dark god worshippers who worship the god of secrets, whose name is Detriman. And a lot of them are undead, so they're like vampires or death knights or what have you, and they're very, very strong. And a lot of the previous occupants of the town were people who stood up against those kinds of things, and who were like light worshippers and paladins and undead must be destroyed, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of tension with, like, well, the undead are really strong, so even if we wanted to kill them, it's gonna be a fight, and there's gonna be lots of dead people, and I'm not sure we'll win, and they're not sure they'll win, and so there's just like a lot of bad blood, and it's just, bleh, it's just like tense and awful, and I hate it. I hate it so much. Like, people just can't resolve that shit in some other way. I mean, some of it got resolved this game, which you'll hear about. But the wild elf tribe that I'm with, the Gen Vespin, the Wasp tribe, we stayed as far out of that as possible. Basically, we were like, nope, don't care. If the undead win, we win. If the humans win, or I mean, if the living win, we win. So who cares? You want my help? Fuck that. I don't care. Yeah. Just a good way to avoid that PvP. But so we did want some action going in. We did want some action going in. And we we said while we were driving up in the car, we're like, okay, so goals for this game: ambush some helpless peasants, like ambush some NPCs that have nothing to do with the combat, and kill them and steal their stuff. That's what I want. I want, like, you know, the quest giver who comes in and says like, oh, there's a bunch of bandits raiding my farm, come help, or whatever. I want that guy to die. That's what we're gonna do this game. We're gonna kill a quest NPC. You know, like, I don't know. It seemed like a reasonable sort of out of game goal to have. Just stir a little trouble, but not player trouble, you know. So that got resolved very quickly, because once we were in game, speaking of which, there's a picture of like the house we stayed in and stuff. And before game, doing all the setup was super great. I took a photo of the inside of our lair, so to speak, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I have to say, like, we actually made a conscientious effort to try and decorate the space this time around, and it's pretty good. One of my friends made like a wasp's nest out of a styrofoam head that we hung outside. I'll show you, because I have the prop, so I'll show you what that looks like. Hang on. Yeah, got like this like head with like a little entrance and like some of the spinal cord there, and it felt like a hook on it. We just hung it outside our cabin, which worked out pretty well for a couple of reactions. It was pretty great for. It was pretty great for people seeing it and being like, what? Yeah, but it's just made from one of those like styrofoam like heads that you put like hats on or wigs on or what have you. But it's super great. We decorated a little and made our place look foreboding. You know. Yeah. But so once we got into game, there's always this like new player mod that happens. So like all the new players have this one thing that they do, where they come into town and like get introduced to the game rules, and like there's probably like a small ambush, and the new players fight off this like small ambush or whatever together, and then they come into town, and there's always that like first mod to get them in the mood and like entering town and stuff. But they had an NPC with them, like some kind of merchant that was like going with their caravan or what have you, and like leading the way and so forth. But he's standing there with his arms folded, and it's fucking cold, right, outside, and I'm really happy for my new heavy wool cloak and everything. I'm standing out there, I'm feeling nice and toasty. But this NPC standing there with his arms folded, and he's like a little cold once he gets into town, and he goes like, oh, well, I'm gonna go find myself somewhere warm to hole up, so I'll be around. And starts walking away, and I walk up to him with the other two Gen Vestmen at my shoulder and go, well, I have a place that you can stay. Come with me. We have a warm house. And he's like, oh, yeah, okay, sure. And then followed us to where we live, and once we got him in there, we just killed him, you know? One of our players, Kythen is trying to learn anatomy, because he's like an alchemist, but he wants to learn doctoring skills. So he's trying to learn anatomy. So he was gonna like do some experimental, like, let's look around inside this guy kind of stuff on the random merchant, right? But as soon as the merchant hit his death count, he dissipated. Like, he just left. Like, he cut his death count off and just left. So we didn't really get to do much. But yeah, we're trying to figure out some stuff about how we can help Kythen practice anatomy. Obviously, we'll just vivisect the NPC. Exactly. Yeah. Or at least, you know, clumsily cut at the NPC until we see things of relevant interest. Yeah, but you know, he didn't last long. He just dissipated and was gone. I think he had like other NPC duties to get to after the first mod and stuff, and like got out of there, which is fine. But our our goal of like, we're gonna kill a quest NPC, we achieved it in the first 5 minutes of the game. Like not like the first 20 minutes, I guess, literally, but it felt like the first 5 minutes we were just like, well, it's done. Shouldn't there be many rumors about disappearing NPCs in my town? I mean, you'd think so, but people just don't care as much as we give them credit for, I guess. I don't know. No one cares about random quest givers. Once they've given their quest, who cares what happens to them? And yeah, I mean, I'm just creating the opportunity for them to have plot points if they want to. But okay, so that was like the first thing that happened. Second thing is, there are lots of new faces. I haven't been to the Calidor LARP game for a couple of months, you know? So there's lots of people that I don't know, lots of players that I've never met, and so there was a lot of, like, you know, introducing myself and, like, speaking to new people who have never met me before. And doing the whole thing that I always do, which is, like, I introduce myself, and then they try and shake my hand, and then I say, no, we don't shake hands, you know? And I'll tell you why we don't shake hands, because people that we don't trust, you let them touch you, and they can cast magic into you. So we don't shake hands. I've just met you. There's no trust there. You know, that kind of shit. And some people take it really well. Some people take it like an insult. I like both, because one is like, I like them, they're respectable. And the other one is like, this guy's a fucking asshole who's cruising for a bruising. And I get to respond either way. But there's a lot of new player greeting, so to speak. People didn't know me, and that's unacceptable. They need to know who I am so that they can stay really far away from me. But there's one player. His character's name was Jin, and he was a brand new player, like brand new. This was his first game, and he's wearing like leather armor that was bare. Like it was just like blank leather that hadn't been dyed or marked or anything. It was just like this bare sort of like beige color. He's like wearing a bare leather chest piece and like bare leather bracers. And like this what do you call it? Like tricorn with like a feather in it and a white shirt. And he has a sword and a shield, and his name was Jin. And when we introduced ourselves to him, he was like really respectful, and like you could see he was a little scared of us, right? We were putting on the intimidating face, the dead-eyed, like we could kill you at the drop of a hat and it wouldn't matter faces, like, you know, this expression during the whole conversation, just very, very unfriendly, you know? But he was super good. He was super good, and he like tried to learn how to interact with us properly, and like, you know, said the right things, called people by the right titles, and all that stuff. And it's nice, and I like interacting with new players who feel like they want to interact with me, because we can make that game more interesting, right? And in fact, maybe like an hour later, there was a little bit of chatter that evening, and we were in a circle talking with some other people, and then Jin was there as well. I don't remember exactly how it happened, but the what was it? Somebody said something about oh, you gotta be careful at night because there's all kinds of horrible monsters out there, you know? And Jin goes, oh yeah, don't worry. I'm really fast. I can outrun probably anyone here. And Ray, who is like a hunter wasp tribe, she's got like a big like a body spear, which is like a spear that pierces through armor. And like, you know, leather armor and just like a very roguey looking with a spear. And Ray goes, oh, you can outrun anyone. And then, sensing what she wants to do, I go, Jin, are you challenging Ray to a hunt? And before he can be told no, everybody in the circle is like, whoa, 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 like immediately. But Jin goes, yeah, sure. What does that mean? But he's already said, yeah, sure. She already said, yeah, sure. Before asking about what the hunt is. So everybody else in the circle is like, you idiot, what the hell? You know? And he goes like, okay, so what do I have to do? And Tammy, like Ray, stares dead-eyed at him and goes, you said you could outrun anyone. 5, 4, 3. And on 3, he's like, oh, fuck, and like starts running, basically. You know? And turns around and fucking bolts down the path. And she's counting down, and she gets to 0, and I just whisper like, go. And she bolts after him. But she stops like a little way after and walks back towards us. And people are like, whoa, did he outrun you? Did he get away? Does he win? You know? And Ray shakes her head and she says, you don't chase a deer. You wait for it. So this poor guy has like run off. This poor guy's like run off and like hidden in the woods somewhere and is like, you know, hoping that he doesn't die. And Ray is just gonna wait for him to come back. And Jin's friends are all looking at us like, you better not kill him, you know, like you can't kill him. He didn't do anything. And I'm reassuring them. I'm saying he's not going to die. This is just a lesson. This is just a lesson for him. I'm not going to allow him to be killed, you know? And they're like, oh, okay, well, that's fine then. All right, you know, beat him up all you want. That's basically. So we went over to our cabin for a little while and sat around because we knew that Jin would like loop back around and go to the tavern because the tavern's like the main place that everybody hangs out. So we went back to our cabin and sort of sat around, had some coffee and whatever. We had like a kettle in there and some water to boil and cups to drink out of and stuff. Like we brought stuff to make sure we didn't have to go back to the tavern all the time. But so we waited around for a bit and then looped back around to the tavern, and Ray says to Kythen, you stand by the front door, I'll go in the back. You know? And I just went into the tavern and sat down to watch, but Jin's standing there talking to some people and I'm watching him. And I see a couple of people like see me, but I'm not Ray, I'm not chasing him, right? So what difference does it make? But then Kythen stands by the front door, and then Ray comes in the back, and somebody sees her and goes, oh shit, and then Jin looks, sees her, and runs, like immediately like drops whatever conversation he was having and runs, and she runs after him, and he runs towards the front door, but Kythen's standing there with his arms folded, like blocking the way, and so he tries to like loop back around and gets stuck in a corner, and Ray catches him and just spears him to the ground, basically. And this is in like full view of like 12 witnesses or something. The tavern is full of people. And so Jin's bleeding out on the ground, and I stand up, you know, dust myself off and walk over. And Ray's busy arguing with somebody about like letting him be healed, you know? It's like he has to learn. You can't heal him now. You have to wait, you know? And like getting in people's faces and stuff. Like Ray's like very confrontational. She's got like the anger, you know, the fuming resentment in her. And so there's a little bit of argument back and forth. There's some tension, right? Like people who don't know the score, don't know the deal that he agreed to, like think we've just like murdered this random person, which of course we haven't, right? And we let him be healed after a little while. And he gets up, and when he gets up, Ray extends her hand and like takes his hand and helps him up. So it's this moment of like, we're not enemies, I'm just teaching you a lesson kind of thing. Like takes his hand, picks him up, and then says, and now your armor is marked. And so you have learned something. You know? And Ray and Jin goes like, oh yeah, thank you. Yeah. You know, like nervously. And Ray walks away, and before I leave, I say to him, next time, ask what it is before you agree to it. And maybe you won't be chased around the town. And again, he's like, thank you for your wisdom. You know, I appreciate it. And we turned and left. Like, and we made sure later on we went and Tammy sort of like out of game, you know, put her hand on her head and went like, I just hope that we didn't step over the line. I hope you're still having a good time and stuff. And he was like, yeah, of course. You know, it was really fun. Like that kind of stuff. And it's important to make sure that, you know, the people are still good and that out of game, they're not upset about anything or what have you. So, you know, that was pretty cool. That was our sort of new player interaction that we had with a young noob named Jin. I wanted to say, you know, good game to him after the game, but I think he left a little early with his ride. Like his ride had to leave a little early, so he left a little early. So I didn't get a chance after game to say like, good game, man, and like you're doing good kind of thing. But you know. Good game. So that was our Friday night. The other thing we did Friday night was that I made a bunch of I inquired about a bunch of demon deals. So there are a couple of things that I wanted, and I have a telepathic idol that allows me to communicate with my demon and ask for things. And so I did. I went to plot camp, knock on the door, and I say like, here are the things I'm asking for through the idol. Tell me how much they will cost me. You know? And one of the things I asked for was something to help Kythen through their first frenzy, because they're a werebear. They're a werebear, and the first night, when you change the first time as a werebear or a were anything, you frenzy and you just berserk and kill everything, right? Like that first night is always a fucker of a night. But there you go. So we were looking for something to help him through his first frenzy, like so that he wouldn't frenzy or what have you. We were also looking for a ring that when Ray put it on would allow her to swing for magic damage, rather than like whatever weapon whatever weapon carrier she had, like give her a magic aura sort of thing. That didn't have to last long. We just needed it for the month, you know, to survive the undead, because undead can only be hurt by magic. And there was one other thing. I don't remember what it was. I feel like it may have been something for me, but I remember them just saying no, so I don't even remember what I asked for. But it was just a flat out no. So you know, we got a little stuffed on demon stuff this weekend, honestly. A lot of the negotiations were like, oh, that sounds reasonable when I was talking to the Shaper, and then when the Shaper went back to talk to, you know, other people, they'd come back and say, no, we can't do it. So, like, whoever's in the plot room making those decisions was basically shutting me down every time. Even though my deals were so reasonable. You know, it's like, I'll trade you this ritual scroll for a magic item that will only last 1 month. Or I'll give you this blood of this person for, you know, like a mere token of your power. Like, that kind of stuff, right? Like, my deals were eminently reasonable, I felt. And yet, they just, like, didn't let me do them. Like, maybe they were preoccupied with other stuff. I don't know. But the game itself was really quiet. I hardly saw a single thing happen. I mean, to be fair, I wasn't involved in a lot of the, like, main diplomatic plot stuff. I didn't talk to a lot of the NPCs or whatever. But there's, like, no random, like, hardly any random combat mods out there. You know, hardly any random, like, here's some bandits, or here's a couple of orcs to kill, or here's, you know, a pack of wolves, or whatever. Like, there are some wolves on their own occasionally, but one wolf a challenge does not make. And everything that we did fight that weekend was, like, had a magic threshold, or was impossible to hurt for some reason, or whatever. Like, just bullshit, you know, just the regular kind of bullshit. And that's kind of irritating when the game, you have so many combat skills that you just want to use on stuff, and there isn't anything to fight. It's a little disappointing when I throw my first spell, like, deep into Saturday night. Yeah. But yeah, so... what was I? Demon deals. Yeah. So we tried to make a bunch of deals, and eventually we got a deal that was like, okay, so for Kythen, we're gonna send a demon. I'm gonna come the demon Baloris, my contact. He's like a lawyer for Nostromus, the one I'm sworn to. The demon says, I will come personally and deliver a potion and administer a potion to Kythen that will help him through his frenzy. That's my only caveat. I will come personally and deliver it. I'm like, all right, that's a fucking great deal. Great deal. I don't have to pay anything. You're just going to come and do it. Sick. You know? And so, you know, this is going to be a little bit out of chronological order because we had to wait a long time for this demon to appear. They said, like, we'll come tonight at some point and we'll appear near the idol. All right, good. So we went back to our cabin, made sure the idol was in a place where when they appeared there, they'd be inside, and created a demon trap circle on the floor, because there's a witchcraft spell called Circle of Trap Angelic Demonic, or something like that, and it's if any angelic or demonic being steps into the circle. It's like if you've ever watched Supernatural, okay? Anybody who's ever watched Supernatural, that thing they do with circles all the time that they get demons in, it's that. It's that circle. It's a witchcraft spell where you create a circle, they step into it, and they can't do anything to get out of it. They're stuck in it. And the rules are with this that there are 3 things that I can do. 3 things that I can do once they're in the circle. One of those things is force them to answer a question truthfully. Once they do that, the circle is dispelled. Yeah. Second thing is, I can banish them. So they are banished back to hell and cannot return to the mortal plane for 1 year. It's probably a year and a day, but whatever. 1 year. And thirdly, just leave them there. Just leave them there. And the spell expires after like an hour, I think is the rule. But so immediately my plan was, well, this demon is going to try and screw us over because he didn't ask for anything from me. He just said he was going to come and administer it personally. It's going to be some bullshit. So I'll create a circle here and we'll make another one deeper into the room. So we had 2 circles that covered like basically the entire floor of the building. So once the demon stepped inside, they would be trapped. Lo and behold, of course it doesn't go my way. Well, I mean, It does, but of course it doesn't as well. Because I'm sitting in the tavern, and this other wild elf named Rend, who we'd been talking to, comes up to me and like taps me on the shoulder and like says, "Shaman, you step aside for a moment. I need to talk to you." And looking at Rend, I said, "Yes, what?" And he goes, "Your contact is here." And I went, "What?" He says, "Your contact. There's somebody waiting for you." I just shake my head like, this fucking demon! He has a telepathic connection to me, goddammit. He could just be like, "Yo, the demon is arriving." You know, like, "I'm coming," or whatever. But instead, shows up and stands outside of the building, and attracts some random wild elf's attention. God damn it. Like, way to out me as fast as possible, right? So I look at Rend and I say, "I'll deal with it." And then I walk out of the tavern, and I like tap on the shoulder Ray and Kythan to have them come with me, and they do. And we head over to our cabin, and there's a demon standing outside. It's not the demon I was expecting. It's a different demon. Which means that, first of all, part number 1 of the contract has been reneged on. He said that he would come personally. He has sent me some pissant messenger demon. Yeah? I'm already pissed. So I walk into the house, and you know, the other 2 walk in as well, and then the last one to come in is the demon, and he steps, boom, directly into the circle. Close the door behind him, and say to him, "So, your master deigns to send some messenger when he told me he would come personally? I'm very disappointed. This next question, you are going to answer truthfully. What will the potion do to Kythan?" And the demon's like grumbling and growling and you know, like making noises, and then like growls out, and he goes like, "It's a puppet potion." Now, puppet is a mind-affecting spell or alchemical effect that basically puts someone directly under your control. You say jump, they say how high, right? As soon as someone is puppeted, they are under the direct command of whoever is puppeting them. And it's the first person that talks to them after they drink the effect. So it would probably have been either me or Ray, basically. But it's not helpful for what I need it for. Because you know what breaks mind-affecting things? Frenzy. When you go berserk, you can't be charmed or puppeted or dominated or any of that shit. And so this potion is fucking useless. I can see what they were going for, because it's like, oh, he's starting to frenzy. Don't frenzy. You know? And then he would stop. If it worked like that, but it doesn't. Because frenzy will stop it from working. This would be effective right up until the frenzy happened, which doesn't help us at all. Yeah, I was most annoyed. So he growls out puppet potion while he's standing in the circle. And then I say, "Well, then your boss has reneged twice on this deal. First, he didn't come himself. Second, he sent me something useless. Now you have 2 choices. Either you infernal walk out of here back to hell using this circle I've graciously laid out for you. Or, now that you've answered my question, I suppose you could try and attack me. But if you do that, you're not coming back to the mortal plane anytime soon. I promise you that." And the demon sort of grumbles and goes like, "Well, you don't want what we have?" And I go, "I want what you have, but I want what I asked for." And the demon grumbles, and then, you know, poof, he infernal walks away because he doesn't want to risk getting exorcised, which is what I was going to do if he didn't. My character is a psionics caster and a witch, and in psionics, the highest level spell is an exorcism, which is basically just like, and you're banished. So, you know, that's helpful for situations where demons are being idiots. But basically I got to be really mad at some stupid messenger demon that, you know, they sent me that wasn't the right thing and didn't have the right deal and just generally felt really fucking lazy as hell. have to say, like, very disappointed in the way that all of my demon stuff was handled this weekend. It basically felt like they just didn't want to deal with it. Basically felt like the plot response was like, we'll send him this bullshit. You know? Like I'm not paying attention to the things I say. Like I'm not paying attention to what, I'm going to be doing and how that's going to be going and setting up contingencies and all of this stuff where I'm spending a lot of time on it and they're just going like, just take some garbage. Thanks. Great. That was probably the there were two like really disappointing moments in this game. Everything else was good, but there were two really disappointing moments. So that's one. The other let me think. What else is there to tell you about the game? So some of you had the plot team change for that game. Yeah, it was a new plot team since I last played. So it's one of those things. It's one of those things where like I'm just a little disappointed in the way that they handled it because the person who I was going to as a shaper is someone that I trust to do good demon stuff, Lee. But I feel like he was being told not to give me anything. You know what I mean? So this NPC came into town on Saturday and came up to us and he's like, I know you. And we were like sitting on the porch of our house. And he's like wearing sackcloth and he's an NPC played by Lee, the shaper, and who's done some NPC stuff in the past. He's like, I know you. Like, have we met? He's like, I think so. I don't really remember, but you seem very familiar. And there's an NPC that I remember Lee playing that I think would remember Aeryn. And so we find out that this guy is this NPC that used to be called Meat. And he was basically this NPC under like 50 or so demon deals that had just like had a really bad time and basically following a succubus around and getting beat the shit out of for fun of that succubus whenever. But he was like regeneratively immortal, and so he was just suffering forever, this like character. And he tells us this story of how the church has like given him back his sanity, and now he has the power to like eat demon deals and take them on for other people. So if you have a deal, you can say, Meat, take my deal, and he will take it on to himself, and it will be as if you never had one, which is not a helpful power to me. But the fact that this thing is walking around with like 100+ demon contracts on it, I'm like, how are you not dead? How have all the competing contracts that you're holding not ripped you apart from the fucking inside? And he's like, well, the voice has just stopped. Nobody has contacted me for a long time. I think the church saved me, But I still need the deals, And he's like itching and looking like a really addict, like, oh, he likes the power, He likes the power. But the church has told him that he can't take deals from demons. So he's making deals with witches for their deals. You know what I mean? That he's not allowed to deal directly with demons. So he's just dealing with witches or with people who have made deals that want to get rid of them. And I'm trying to make like this negotiation with him where I'm like, I can make demon deals for you, Meat. I can make a deal for you, take it onto myself, and then give it to you. But I need something for it. Give me a piece. Give me a taste of that deal. Give me some of that power, And Meat's like, no, I can't deal with demons. I can't deal with demons. And besides, what you get out of it, you get not having to deal anymore. I'm like, Meat, you fucking idiot. I want my deals. I make good deals. Deals that I don't regret because I'm not a moron, basically. So forth. All that kind of stuff. And the conversation goes round and round in circles, and I think to myself, if the demons aren't after this guy, for whatever reason, he's got like 100+ contracts on him, probably, maybe more. from various competing demons, because there are 7 demon princes and thousands of demons in the service of each of those princes. Like, it could be demons on various sides of the giant demonic hell war, you know, that rages constantly, that are trying to get him to do competing things, and he's not fulfilling the end of the bargain because he can't possibly fulfill every bargain because one probably competes with another at some point. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy probably has a fucking bounty and a half on his head. Like a demon, like a soul bounty. I'm sure there are like at least 10 demons that give a shit about where this guy is right now. And if they could find him, they'd have taken him already. Right? That was my thought. We let Meat go on his way because he regenerates forever, so it's impossible to hurt him, basically. You put him down and he gets back up again, because he's got a deal that's what happens. Yeah, it's... What are you gonna do? So we let him go on his way, and I immediately go to plot camp. Knock on the door, and I say, well, hello. So, here's what I've done. Meat left, and I immediately picked up my idol that grants me telepathic communication with my patron, and I said, it might interest you to know that I know the location of someone who has like 150 plus demon contracts on them, and that I'm sure many of the demons that hold those contracts are looking for, yourself may be included. Do you recognize the name Meat? You know, and had this little conversation. And the Shaper is standing there going like, oh shit, you know, like, that's awesome, like, that was a really good play, you know, like, I can see it in their eyes that they're like, oh fuck, okay, yeah, I can see the wheels turning, right? And I say, like, all I'm asking is for a little reward. Just the ring I asked for. Ring, lasts a month, makes someone who wears it swing for magic. That's all I want. Just lasts a month. That's all I want in return for my amazing intel. Pretty easy, right? And so Shaper goes in and comes back out, like, 5 minutes later, opens the door, and I'm like, yes, I'm gonna give her a ring. You know, like, and they open the door and they go, we already know where he is. It's no problem. That information is useless to us. And I'm like, how does that make any sense at all? If you know where he is, why is he not in chains? He's eating deals. That is like the epitome of fucking ruining demons' good times. Like, I just care so much. I just care so much about demon stuff, and they just don't give a shit. They just don't give a shit at all. They're like, whatever. Doesn't matter. It's fine. He can just consume all the deals that we've made with people in this town that will keep them in our service for hundreds of years, and then we'll just have some useless competing contract guy with all the deals. That seems like a great plan. Fucking hell, I was mad. Like, out of game, I was just really disappointed. Really disappointed by that particular play. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, like, unless he's the servant of a demon or whatever, but he's taking deals from all over, so he can't be, because he's in service to many demons. You know, he kept saying he's like, I'm in service to all, but that's fucking impossible. There's no Hell King, so you can't be in service to everyone, because those things are at competing ends. God fucking damn it. Ow. It's basically how I felt about that whole thing. You know, witches don't get along with witches because they're competition. You know? Even witches that serve the same demon are like, but if you serve them better, then why do they want me? You know? Unless I am also in service to you, I mean, I did, Daphne, but you can't, like, stand there at the plot door and yell at them, right? Like, it's kind of their call, just in general. But, I mean, I basically said, like, I'm kind of disappointed with the way you're handling all this demon stuff. You're basically just, like, saying no. And not for a reason. You're not being like, no, because. You're just saying no. And I can see that you're not saying no initially. You're saying no when you go back in there and talk to whoever you're talking to, and then come out and then say no. You know? I can see that you're excited about my ideas up until you talk to the person you have to talk to. I don't know. I'm just getting, like, straight nerfed, yeah. I'm just getting, like, straight told I can't have things, even though I have done the work required to get them. And that irritates me. Irritates me a great deal. But it's fine. All that means, my friends, all that means in the long run, is, I just have to escalate. Next time I need something to give over for tribute, it's not going to be a subtle liter of blood or a subtle 2 letters of a true name I got from a dark pact or a subtle anything. It's going to be, here's your NPC fucking wholesale. Take him, his whole being. I've got them all here. Flesh, blood, and soul. Take him. I hope he enjoys hell. Give me what I want. I mean, that's what it's going to come down to. Like, it's not going to be like, oh, I sacrifice this guy in the name of Nostradamus, and I take his blood into a cup, and I drinketh of it, and I pray. It's going to be like, hey, plot, here's the guy you sent out. Yeah, he's in hell now. You know? That's basically... like... That's basically what they're asking me to do, right? It's like that ridiculous escalation, where it goes from, like, me being able to be a subtle, you know, like, user of witchcraft and seeker of the mystic paths, you know, and consorter with the minions of hell, to just, like, straight up some murderer, you know, which is not what I want to do, really. And yeah, Keeters, you're asking if all witchcraft comes from demons. It does in Underworld. Witchcraft is a demonic sphere of magic. It comes from demons. But, I mean, there's nature magic and stuff, and you could claim, you know, hedge witch status with some nature magic or whatever, but it's just that the word witch refers to demonic service in the Underworld, like, mythos. So, yeah, that was kind of one of the disappointing aspects of this game. And I'll tell you about another story that led to sort of like a weird thing that happened. So, late Saturday night, there wasn't a whole lot going on. There were 4 NPCs in the tavern playing merchants. 2 of them were merchants. The others were, like, peasant porters. You know, they were, like, carrying stuff for the merchants. And they spent probably about an hour in the tavern. And this whole time that they were there, Ray was watching them like a hawk. Like had her eyes on them the whole time. And I noticed, right? And I was like, Ray, what? What about them? And Ray straight up goes to me and she's just like, I'm going to kill them. I'm going to kill all the merchants. Like, well, if that's the hunt you want to take on, then fine. But we should wait until they are alone. She's like, of course, I'm waiting now. And we tell Kython that this is the plan, and, you know, he has gas globes, so he's, like, prepping one up as they leave. So these merchants... These Ajanti come into the tavern and they go like, well, we're going to do a seance, you know, and we're going to summon a spirit or what have you. And this is the spirit of a player who retired this past game. But I don't really know the story behind that, so we're not going to tell that story because that wasn't part of my experience, really. But they're going to summon a spirit, you know. And immediately the merchants were like, fuck that, I'm out, you know, and they leave, and we're like, us too. We follow, and I'm standing next to this NPC, talking to them as we walk down the path, and saying like, best not to be in a place where Ajanti are doing a seance. And he's like, yes, of course. And that's why we're going to the other side of town. We've heard that there's more people to trade with over there. And so we want to make sure, we want to make sure that we get to everyone. And they say, well, I have things to trade. Would you want to trade with me? He's like, of course. Yes, let's trade. But let's get out of the cold. And I'm like, I agree. We'll go back to our cabin. Come with us. And so we go to the cabin with these 4 NPCs in tow. There's 3 of us and 4 NPCs. So we go to the cabin, and I open the door and step inside and go over to the far side of the room and sit down in the chair that I have there. And the NPCs come in. One of them is like, it's a little crowded in here. I'm going to stand outside. You know, one of the peasants with like a weapon in his hand or whatever. And Ray immediately goes, yes, me too. You know, and closes the door. So it's me and Kythan and 3 NPCs, and then Ray's outside with another NPC. Now, I didn't get to see or hear any of this, but the part outside went like this. Isn't it annoying having to guard those people? Oh yeah, it's pretty annoying. Size up. And size up is a skill that allows you to like learn an NPC's stats or a PC stats. They have to tell you their stats when you size them up. So Ray has a size up and she goes, size up. And the NPC goes, 50 armor, 30 body. Ray's like, okay. You know, like, thinks it over and then goes, it can be very boring. And he's like, that's not so bad. And he like leans over to look somewhere, and then Ray just goes, surprise body execute. And just like hits him in the back with a spear for an execute, which is just like, you're dead. You know? And it's surprise, so he can't call defenses or anything like that. He just drops like a sack of potatoes. He hits the ground. And she did the execute so that he wouldn't be able to cry out or like scream or anything, you know, like just one hit, down. And then the door opens, and she steps inside and closes the door. And I look up from the trading that I'm doing with the lead guy, and say to her, everything all right, Ray? She says, he was just boring. And we took that as the signal to, like, start fucking these guys over. So, he was just boring. Immediately followed by, I summon a hex to inflict race change toad on the guy in front of me. And then confusion gas globe across the room to the other guy. And then Ray just, like, spears the third guy down into the corner. And the NPCs didn't even know what was happening. They were just like, just like so confused by everything that went off. Like, apparently one of them had to reflect, but like forgot to call it because they were so surprised and like all this other stuff. And as soon as everybody's down, Ray reaches out the door and like drags the other corpse inside so that nobody sees it and like closes the door. And we get to looting, you know? And these merchants have just finished trading with the whole town, you know? They made so much, they got so much stuff. They've got like a stack of tags like this high. I'm not getting like just paper, but like this high, you know? It was a fucking haul, is all I've got to say. And like 9 gold or something, like 10 gold, you know, they had, which is pretty good. But it was like a really, really, really clean murder. Like, really clean. Like, I was very proud of us in our amazing short murder attempt. And so we did that, and we got our stack of stuff, and yeah, pretty good, not too bad. So so we hit all that loot, obviously, and kept it all secret and safe because, you know, it's stolen, and you never know when people are gonna remember their deaths and come back into town and accuse you of murdering them or whatever. But yeah, we you know, we weren't too worried about that. So later on that night, we're sitting in the tavern, and there has been nothing going on all day. If there was something going on, I don't know what it was. I didn't see it. I can't say that there was definitively nothing going on because I wasn't present in every place, in every situation, but like I had done nothing other than the stuff that I had chosen to do myself, like murdering NPCs or going to plot and talking about demon stuff. Other than that stuff, I had interacted with other players and some merchants. That's about it. Which, it's a little slow, right? It's a pretty slow game when that's the case. But, much to my joy, I hear from the other room in the tavern, somebody runs out and they're like, demons! I'm like, demons, all right. Because psionic spells are really, really good against demons. They do 4 times damage. So I'm like, sweet, I get to throw some spells and blow some stuff up. That's what I want to do right now, you know, like I'm into it. So I stand up and I walk over towards the door and I'm like, oh, okay, that looks like a demon, yeah. And so I throw an ego burn, which is like 15 magic body, times 4 for a demon. And I hit him, I'm like, ego burn, 15 magic body. And it doesn't seem to affect him. I'm like, you know that's times 4. And he's like, I'm not a demon. What? You all infernal walked in here. You know, like, and then just boom, 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 fucking destroys me, basically. I mean, there are these things that are, they're like dogs or something. They're like, I thought they were hellhounds, but apparently they're not. Swinging for 10 magic cower and machine gunning like fuck. And when machine gunning is a term used to mean like hitting the same place really fast, constantly. It's a bad practice, but they were basically going like this. They have 2 claws, right? Like 2 claw buffers, so like 2 buffered sticks, and they're basically going like bang, 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 like that shit, right? Which is just, I'm like, you fucking kill me, right? There's nothing I can do to defend against that. But so I got knocked out pretty quickly by this fight, and I ended up in a corner because they're swinging for 10 magic cower, and once cower goes through your armor, you have to run away from the thing, and then they just chase me. So I'm running, they're chasing, I need to get out of line of sight. I end up in a corner, and he's standing over me in a corner. 2 of them are standing over me in a corner, just like beating me to hell, right? And I'm like, all right, well, I'm fucking dead. So I lie down, you know, and thankfully the corner I'm in is by the door. So my bleed count goes through, they killing blow me, my death count starts, and and I'm lying there going like, is this how I die? In a corner to some hell dogs? I don't know. But, I couldn't really see what else was going on, so they pulled me out of the door. They opened the door and like pulled me out and lifed me. So I was okay. But immediately I'm thinking, where are my friends, you know? And I couldn't see Ray or Kythan outside, so my immediate first reaction was to run around the back of the tavern, go in the back door, and like sneak into the back room. And everything that was happening was in the main room, so the back room, it was quiet. And I looked through one of the doors in the back room, and I could see Ray standing in a circle of protection with Lucian, who's like this Ajanti, very powerful Ajanti caster, who's like one of my friends and one of the Jen Vestman's friends, standing in a circle of protection. So they're okay. They're okay. I have you know, sold them as being fine. And then I sneak further forward and I look through the other door in the side room and I can see Kythan lying down, and I can see Victor lying down. And Victor is another person who's like a human, but a human that I like. You know what I mean? A human that we are friends with. And they're both lying sort of like face down on the ground. And I wait just a little bit until the dogs have like moved over towards the circle of protection, and there's like one guy who's talking to Lucian, and he looks like an Argenti, but he's probably like a demon skin riding this Argenti, you know what I mean? I don't know. I wasn't really, you know, interested in finding out necessarily. But so I wait until they're paying attention to the circle of protection. Then I I crouch and like move out into the room, run over to Victor, and I go, I summon a Hexagram Dark Pact, which is a life spell, but I get a letter of his true name. And he's like, accept, gets up. Run over to Kythan, I summon a Hexagram Dark Pact. He gets up, I get a letter of his true name, and we run out the back door. Like, I basically like snuck in, saved 2 people, and fucked off, And we went right back around to the front because Ray's still inside with Lucian. And the dogs have like given up on the circle of protection at this point, and they come towards the front door with their owner. And their owner opens the door, the dogs come out, and immediately I'm like, well, let's just try and disable them, because disables usually work, right? So I'm like, sleep, works, he falls asleep. Sleep, works, the dog falls asleep. Paralysis, works, the dog's paralyzed. Like, all that kind of stuff, like, happens right away. I'm like, yes, okay, they're really powerful, but I can disable them. Sweet, And then some weird stuff happens, like NPCs not knowing how sleep works. Like, when someone, wiggles your shoulder, it does not immediately wake you up. You have to take body damage or be shook awake for a minute. Those are the only ways that you can wake up from sleep. And they were like, I don't know, there was some like bad rules calls involved, Not to mention, the one that was paralyzed just suddenly started moving again, and I did not see anybody cast Dispel Magic. So, dunno. Right? I think there was a little bit of an argument on that one, and the paralyzed one went back to being paralyzed. I don't know. But like, some shit happened. But I was like, okay, well, I can cast spells that'll disable them. That's great. Right? Like, I can help get Ray and Lucian out of the building, and it'll be fine. So I go back into the tavern, like, past the dogs while they're disabled, to go and talk to the others. And one of the dogs follows me, or 2 of the dogs follow me, and I'm backing up, but I'm like, oh, I can deal with this. So I'm like, I summon a hex to inflict horror. And the dog goes, Phase, which is a level 9 defensive spell in the psionic sphere. Level 9 defensive spell, the highest you can have that is not ritual magic. Level 9 defensive spell that allows you to avoid anything. And that's fine. But the dogs that I just disabled didn't do that. Are these the same dogs? Did they just fucking forget their stats? Are they playing super powerful demon, not demon dogs of hell or nightmares, but don't know what they can do? Because, holy fuck, do not give people the ability to swing for 10 magic cower and not know any of their stats. Wow! Like, did they get tapped on the shoulder and be like, you have defenses, right? By, like, the person in charge? Because this is a defense that's coming out of nowhere that I did not expect, that I did not fucking see coming, that didn't happen the first time I did any of this. See what I mean? It's a little fucking weird. But then I'm like, okay, well, he phased. Okay, let's do it again. I summon a hex to inflict horror. Throw it again. Phase again. From the same dog. Fucking twice. It's a level 9 spec. You can't stack it. It could be a monster ability, I guess, but like, how many do they have? They had 0 when we first started this fucking fight. Now they have 2? Like, And so, of course, I got fucking decked again, because these 2 dogs just fucking rolled me. Because they have 2 phases each, at least. And so I got decked again. I'm on the ground, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm bleeding out again. That's great. Super great. And then this NPC who, like, wasn't being attacked for some reason walks over and force feeds me a potion. And so I'm okay, but I'm lying on the ground because the dogs are still around. I'm like, I'm not going to get up until they leave. Until they're gone, I'm not going to move. I'm just going to pretend I'm dead. Like, just lying there after having been fed a potion. Everybody else had gotten out. Like, I was probably the only one in there at this point. Yeah. I don't know what happened to those dogs, because after that point, once I got out and everybody was okay, we just went back to our house so that if they came in, I could just circle of protection and, like, they wouldn't be able to get at us, because that shit was ridiculous. Like, 10 magic cower is insane because once it breaks your armor, you become useless. You run away and break line of sight, you know, and then the only way back in is if you come back, and then they hit you again and you run away again, you know, like, and if they chase you, you just gotta keep running. It's like, it's just fucking crazy. So like that on its own is crazy, plus the phases, so like mages couldn't hurt them, and I heard from some other mages that ended up running into them that yeah, they just like phase through everything. So I don't know. I don't know what that was, but what I will tell you is that was the only mod, like the only combat mod that wasn't like, let's go through a portal and do a specific thing, the whole game, basically, that I fucking even noticed. You know, there was no like, here's 8 bandits coming into town to fuck some shit up or whatever. That was it. That was it. It was that mod. I mean, there are a couple of, like, ghoul spawns or, like, zombie spawns or stuff, like, undead stuff. But again, it's got a magic threshold. Like, 90% of the town can't even fucking hurt it. Shitty. So yeah, that fight felt pretty unwinnable. And I spoke to some of the NPCs, like, after. And I heard that those dogs were only there because of the merchants we murdered. Like, the merchants we murdered had a demon deal that allowed them to remember their deaths and swear vengeance on the people that killed them. And so actually those dogs, it felt like they were targeting us. And actually they were. They were targeting the 3 people that murdered them. Me, Ray, and Kythin. Like, insanely hard. And I'm like, okay, so if we hadn't murdered those merchants, would there have been a mod? Would there have been anything to happen Saturday night because they just decided to do improvised revenge mod instead? Because it's improvised as fuck. Like, I don't know what these creatures were, but I'm betting you $100 that they weren't in the monster manual. You know? And also, random merchants just have a demon deal and they get to turn into hellhounds and commit revenge, but when I have a reasonable demon deal to make under a very reliable source where I have been a super reliable, super awesome witch for this demon for some time and created other witches that serve me and have a following and all that stuff, I get fucking nothing. Random peasants get fucking hellhound transformations, but I, the actual powerful witch in the area, get fucking nothing. Okay. Sweet. The other thing is, unless they had the demon deal before they died, how are they making the demon deal to remember their deaths after they've already died? Because they already don't remember, which means they can't remember what happened. If they've resurrected and then they go to a demon and they make a deal, I guess they could, but why would you sell your entire soul after one death? You're merchants. Bandits are a thing. Like, dying and cutting your losses must be something that you're aware that you might have to do. I have never reasonably heard of somebody going like, well, I died once, time to sell my soul for revenge and live forever as a servant hellhound of a demon. I just don't think so. Coming back into town, if they remember their death, coming back into town with a gang of mercenaries and coming to beat us up, I'm in for it. Let's do it, right? But it was just, like, so weird. It was so specific and strange. If it had just been like, yeah, let's get together, like, 8 guys and fuck go wreck those stupid elves. Like, sweet. I would love that fight. I love fighting humans and, like, stuff that takes damage and doesn't phase every spell that I cast and doesn't have a magic threshold and isn't ridiculous. Basically, it was lazy as fuck. I don't really like ranting in these things, but sometimes you gotta, right? Like, sometimes you gotta call that shit out. Like, when you're not having a good time and it's because And it's because of plot, and like this kind of stuff I will call out in my, there's like a review thread every game where it's like, tell us what you liked and what you didn't like and stuff, and dude, trust me, all this stuff is going to come up in that as well. But I just want to share with you some of my frustrations at the same time as I share with you my joys of the game. And the thing is, I still had a good time. Because hanging out with Tammy and Ave in character as Aeryn, Ray, and Kythen is really, really fun. It's just a fun time. Like, it is. It's fun. It's fun to be these characters and to do the things these characters do and to look at their motivations and try and figure stuff out. Oh, I remember what they wouldn't give me as well. I wanted to allow Ray to secondary ritual cast for me. I wanted Ray, like Ray, who is an assassin, like she's not magically talented, but I wanted to give her the same quality as like a familiar has, where they count as a secondary ritual caster, because as a witch, there aren't many people that will help me do rituals. You know what I mean? Like witchcraft is it's a difficult sphere to get off the ground because you need other witches, and witchcraft is generally illegal. You know? So, I wanted to give her the ability to be like my apprentice. You know what I mean? And like do the things I directed her to do during rituals. I thought that'd be a cool role-playing thing. But they just said, nope, you can't have it. Unless you want me to turn her into an animal and then she's your familiar, then great. But no, otherwise no. Okay, sure. Seemed totally reasonable to me, but alrighty then. Yeah. So, because we were bored, we murdered merchants, which then came at us with a revenge plot. Which was poorly thought out and ridiculous. In my mind. And to be fair, we were the ones it targeted. So, if I think it was poorly thought out and ridiculous, imagine what other people thought that just thought it was like some random demon thing that had nothing to do with anything. Imagine those poor people. Jeez. I feel bad for those guys who got caught up in the fight that had nothing to do with it. Yup. It was... that's how I felt about it. It was a fun game. I had fun doing stuff with my friends, but nothing that plot contributed, nothing that came my way NPC-wise, nothing that I interacted with in any other way except basically for my friends and some new players that wanted to roleplay. None of it was good. Like, none of it, basically. It was all... It felt lazy. Or it felt like the kind of thing where you like get an idea and then just run with it no matter how bad it is. Oh, I kept the merchant stuff, Claire. We hit it well. I'm not going to say where we hit it because if I do, someone might then look there next time. But they didn't get any of the stuff back. I still have it all. They did steal some of our stuff, but it was just the stuff in the box of like, we don't know what to do with this kind of garbage. So it's cool. They definitely went into our house. There were 2 circles on the ground, but they didn't bother to ask us what they were or anything. They just walked straight through. I'm betting you probably about $50 that the Ajanti guy walked in there and stepped into a circle of demon trapping. Didn't bother to ask me what it was. Out of game. Because they'd still be stuck in there. If they were a demon. Two very, very obvious circles on the ground that covered the entire floor. You couldn't have gone into the building without stepping in them. I guess next time I'll put up a goddamn, like, sign. It doesn't say I have to, but I will. Yeah, I would say that's my rant for today. The last mod of the game on Sunday night, or on Sunday afternoon, after we got up, and like, you know, there were some drakes or whatever, and it was nice and refreshing to kill like a regular spawn of something that I can handle, some drakes. Though the first ones had a threshold that was beaten by silver, and then suddenly they had a magic threshold again on the next spawn. So, you know, that was a thing that just like randomly happened again. They had different color tabards. Like the tabards for the first ones were dark blue, and then the next ones were light blue. So at least they tried to signpost it a little bit. But like, again, just why? And I don't know. I don't know. We killed some drakes on Sunday morning, and then Sunday afternoon, the last mod of the day was like, we have to go rescue some souls that have been trapped. We've got to go rescue 2 Ajanti souls that are trapped in the Far Realm. So we'll take a portal to the Far Realm, but to do that, we have to drive one of you insane to open the portal to the Far Realm. Now, the Far Realm is like the nightmare land, like Cthulhu's domain, you know, like the land of insanity and fucking crazy shit. Like, all the Lovecraftian crap comes from the Far Realm. So when they're like, let's take a portal to the Far Realm, I'm like, ha 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 ha. I know what lives in the Far Realm. I serve a demon that lives in the Far Realm, so nope, I'm not going there. Fuck that. And then I just didn't. Not to mention, after the other thing we did Sunday was we wanted to give some time for plot to, you know, like, we don't want to go to them all the time and be like, hey, yo, demon stuff, you know, like, so we gave them breaks, right? Like, we didn't want to pester them. But so we waited till Sunday morning to go and do the whole thing where I'm like, hey, bitch that I'm calling up telepathically, you know, the guy that I have an idol to telepathically communicate with? Hi, Baloris? Hi. Yeah, my friend, my demon contact, you fucked me on that deal. You sent me a messenger when you said you were going to come personally, and the potion you sent me was useless. It was a puppet potion, which would not help my friend get through Frenzy, because Frenzy breaks mind-affecting effects. You know? And the response was like, puppet is perfectly fine. You know, you can just puppet him and tell him to kill himself. I'm like, that doesn't help him through Frenzy, which is what I asked for, dickhead. Basically. And he goes like, well, that's what you get. And I'm like, so you're reneging on a contract. You're a demon of high stature, as you are acting as a lawyer for a deal I have with your boss, the demon prince of madness, Nalastramus, who is the sleeper, you know, like, they are asleep. They dream things, and they create nightmares by their very thought, and are fucking scary. And this person is their lawyer, so to speak. And I'm like, so you, a demon of high standing, are reneging on a deal, don't seem to care about it, and that's fine? Interesting. Those are interesting facts to me. So here's what I'm gonna do. I am a gracious and forgiving servant, you know, who has served you well for the past year. I will forgive your misdemeanor here and your attempted trickery. I'll forgive it. I will not hang the reputation of a deal-breaking shitlord over your head. What I will instead do is I will give you this liter of blood that we got from a player. I will give you this liter of blood as a peace offering, and you will give me the ring I asked for, the one that makes you swing for magic, as a peace offering, allowing me to drop this whole thing. You know? Because, like, demon contracts are binding. They're binding. I mean, demons will hold you to them. Why shouldn't you also hold the demon to them? Right? So I say all this, and he's like, okay. and like walks away and talks to whoever and comes back and goes like, well, do you have the true name of this person? And I'm like, no, but I have a liter of their blood. You know what I can do with a liter of their blood? Of course you do, because you're a demon. You can do everything I can do, but like 80 times better. There are witchcraft rituals that could drive someone literally insane with the liter of their blood. There are witchcraft rituals that could cause them to thin over the course of several months and die with a liter of their blood. There are witchcraft rituals where you can force someone to be so greedy they would kill their best friend for their gold with a liter of their blood. And I'm sure demons, with all their plot shit, have like 80 more things that they can do. Here's a liter of blood, you know? Like... take it. You know? And they're like, we don't need it. We don't want it. If you come back with her true name, then great, we can deal. I'm like, are you fucking serious? You're a demon? You're a demon. You're a demon that doesn't want blood I'm giving you. You don't want it. I mean, with it, you could create an all-new servant to cause chaos in the name of hell. But I guess you don't have the vision for that. Oh, like a small token, a gift for me, that's all I'm asking. Just a tiny little fucking taste. It's an item that'll last a month, which is like a single game. I don't know what else to do. Don't know what else to do, you know? And I can't even say like, oh, it's this new demon lawyer that's being an asshole, because I gave them the chance because it's a new plot team. It's like a plot team who are taking over from the last guys. And the last guys were like, Baloris is your demon lawyer and he's going to do this stuff. And I'm like, well, the politics of hell could have shifted and it could be a different guy. But the Shapers were like, no, it's still Baloris. And I'm like, well, then why is he being such a fucking asshole? And like entirely different. You know what I mean? Like, hey, they could have had like some new demon step in who's like, you know, we're cracking down or whatever, and that could have been plot. That could have been plot for me. The plot could have been, how do I get this asshole out of here and get Baloris back? You know, and then we could have done like some demon stuff where it was like, I will contact Baloris in the dead of night through a secret ritual and find out what happened to him, and then we will raise him back to power, you know, so that he can once again be the lawyer that contacts Nostromus for me, you know, and all that shit. Like, rather than like, he's just suddenly a dickhole. You know, like there's like 1,000 things. Whatever. I'm not plot. I didn't write any of it. I haven't done everything. I haven't had the stress of being in charge of that stuff. But immediately I'm thinking of like a whole bunch of things that could have been better, right? Like, and that's easy as a player to like levy that criticism. But like everything this game was basically like, and you're fucked, and you're fucked again. And you're fucked over a third time, and you get nothing, and your offer is totally reasonable, but fuck you. You know, like, basically. It's like... pretty unfortunate. Anyway, that was my whole game. After that deal went bad, like, we went back to the cabin, and we went back to the cabin, and like they were going to the far realm and we weren't going to go, so we did our packing like while they were gallivanting in the doom realm, and that was it. How long do these plot teams generally stay in charge? Like a year, You know, it depends on who wants to stay as a member of plot or whatever. Like, shapers can last. They're called shapers. The GMs are called shapers, and there's usually like a lead shaper and then like several shapers who write plot lines for the season and so forth. And they usually stay for about a year. But like, you know, some shapers stay on for 3 years or 4 years, and those are the people who know what they're doing and like so forth. But the other thing is, like, it's a volunteer position and it's a lot of work, right? Like, we're talking about writing a LARP game for people for nothing, basically. Like, it you don't get paid, right? The only thing that you get is that you're volunteering to do this thing, and you get like imaginary currency, basically, that for the game. Like, there's this like you know, secondary currency called frags that you get, that like you can buy special skills with, or, you know, like unlock rare races with, like that kind of like a microtransaction currency almost that you get for doing plot stuff or being an NPC or what have you. So like, you really gotta love it to stick it out. There's a lot of pressure, and like there's a lot of players with a lot of complaints, and I understand how that's hard, right? Like, I can't imagine that a plot team that has just heard my rant would feel good. But I also think that it's important to communicate how I'm feeling. You know what I mean? Yeah, sort of thing. I've had Tammy ask me if I want to be a shaper for Xenostrand in the summer. Maybe I will. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll be a plot writing plotter at some point. But I don't know. I like being a player for LARP. I've done the NPC thing, like been the person who plays NPCs and like is there all the time to be the important NPCs and so forth for the shapers. And that was pretty okay. You know, I've been the big bad evil death knight. I've been the merchant. I've been the crunchy, you know, like random bandit to get beat up. I've been the wild elf who's been chained and needs to be saved. You know, I've been all these things as an NPC over the course of my time. Yeah, yeah, it's cool.